Greetings, programs. I'm Corey Frya, and welcome to The Grid. It's my pleasure to say that I'm joined by a man who has turned his love for the 1982 film Tron not only into a costume, but into a way into becoming an internet celebrity. If you've searched the web the past several years, you've probably seen a picture of this guy. It's pretty infamous. His name is Jay Maynard, known the internet-wide as Tron Guy. Jay, welcome to The Grid.
Greetings, programs.
For those out there who haven't seen the original 1982 Tron, would you mind explaining a little bit about what that film's about?
Basically, the original movie is a story about a guy who gets ripped off by somebody else in the company he works for and winds up going inside the company's computer system to prove that he had been wronged and to right the wrong. He actually gets sucked up into the computer to do this, not really intentionally, but once he's inside, he has to figure out how to get back out again.
And how old were you when you saw the film?
I saw the first film when I was 22. I had just started work as a mainframe systems programmer, and that's how it caught my attention.
And with your background in computers, I'm sure the original film definitely appealed to you.
Oh yes, I had been interested in computers since I was 8, so I'd been working on them, and by that point I'd already built one, so I had a lot of experience and interest in the subject.
And after seeing Tron, what was your initial reaction?
Well, to me, what got me into the film was that it made a serious attempt to show what goes on inside the computer. It was the first film to do that. Some things it got right, some things it got wrong, some things we thought it got wrong turned out that it got a lot more right than anybody had guessed.
And if you could you give us a rough estimate as to how many times you've actually seen the 1982 Tron?
By now I've probably seen it upwards of 50 times, probably not as many as 100, between going to showings and watching it myself to try to look at specific details and just sitting back and enjoying it every now and then.
And so what exactly inspired you to create your Tron costume?
I had gone to my first science fiction convention the year before, in 2003. And I saw the masquerade, the costume contest. I thought that would be kind of fun. And the convention I went to wasn't just a science fiction convention. It was kind of a cross between a science fiction and a computing convention. So it struck me that Tron, being a science fiction movie about computers, would be a good subject to draw from.
And correct me if I'm wrong here, did you win an award for this costume?
I actually won. I did not win the overall award. I did, however, win the award for best workmanship.
How long did it take for you to construct your costume?
I was collecting pieces for pretty much all of the year before I actually made it. I trolled eBay for almost the entire year of 2003 after the convention and finally saw just one auction for Tron costume stuff. And in fact, I've never seen another one, which I won for the armor pieces. And then I collected the rest of it over the next few months. Once I had all the pieces, it took me about a week of full-time effort to complete the costume.
And that's all on your website, and you documented the process of making that costume, right?
Right. That is the page that made me famous, was documenting that process.
So I think the million-dollar question here is, what makes your costume light up?
Each armor piece has its own battery pack, and it drives a piece of electroluminescent wire that's run around it. Some of the pieces have less, some have more. The shoulder pads have about 4 feet. The helmet has about 22 feet. But it's all one piece of wire that's run around and around and around.
And so how many batteries does it take to power this costume of yours?
Each armor piece has its own battery pack, and except for the helmet, everything's powered by 2 AA's. So that's a total of 10 AA's, and then the helmet has a single 9-volt.
So I guess you invest in some rechargeable batteries then.
Actually, they don't. The rechargeables don't hold up very well. I just buy a whole boatload of batteries.
So far you've made 2 Tron costumes. Do you have any plans to make any more?
No, I am planning on at least one from the new movie. I do not as yet know. Well, I know about how to go about it, but I don't know exactly how or when yet.
And as the Tron costume master, do you have any advice for fans out there that may want to make a Tron costume of their own?
Well, the biggest thing for me when I was making it, I had seen others who had done so, and they all made their costumes white as the original movie costumes were, but not as they appeared on screen. What I did was I picked a color of paint and then had everything else, had the unitard and the other pieces made to match that. And so where I kind of skimped out on was on the intricate paint design and the rest of it. But knowing that I was going to do that, I at least tried to make the rest of the costume as accurate as I could.
You've appeared on Tosh Point oh, Jimmy Kimmel Live, and been parodied on South Park. You're an internet celebrity, and when did you first learn of your internet celebrity fame?
Oh yeah. I debuted the costume at the convention. The masquerade was Saturday night. Sunday afternoon was when the page exploded across the net, and I refer to that week as the week my life got turned upside down. I have since then I've had a lot of media interest, obviously more at first than now, but even now I still get, and even before the current movie. I had a steady stream of people just wanting to talk to me and interview me and ask me questions.
So when Tron Guy goes out in public, or should I say Jay Maynard goes out in public, do you get recognized?
I only get recognized when I'm out in the costume, really. People who just see me walk around in street clothes don't really know me. I think I've been recognized out of the costume maybe 3 times.
TMZ reported that you were banned from seeing Tron Legacy while wearing your Tron costume. Is that correct?
Close. They had asked me to go to get some pictures of me in the costume at the theater, and I was actually not going to my local theater, but one about 50 miles away. So that was a far enough drive. I called them first to find out what their reaction would be, and what they told me is that they'd much rather I didn't do that.
And so have you been able to see Tron Legacy while wearing your costume?
I have not seen it in my costume yet, but I did get an email inquiry from a theater just today asking if I would come to their theater and do it. And that goes, if there's a theater out there that would like me to do it and that I can reasonably get to, I'd be happy to.
So do you plan on taking them up on that offer and going to that theater?
Yes. Assuming that things work out. And that theater is about 150, 175 miles from here. So, that's going to turn into an overnight excursion.
Oh, yeah. As a Tron fanatic, did you ever think you'd ever see a sequel, especially this far away from the original?
Up until the time that I broke across the internet and became famous, the answer is no. I honestly believe that my fame on the internet is responsible, at least in part, for getting the sequel greenlighted.
So Wired.com arranged for you to see Tron Legacy before it was released. When did you actually see the film?
I saw the film the Tuesday before it was released, so Tuesday the 14th. And they arranged to get me into the biggest IMAX 3D screen in Minnesota. And that was a real nice experience. I really loved that.
And what did you think of the 3D in the film? Did you think it was gimmicky at all, or did it serve a purpose?
They did not gimmick the movie up at all. The 3D is simply there to lend a sense of depth, a sense of extra realism. In fact, I think that the 3D in Tron Legacy is similar to the use of color in The Wizard of Oz, in that it's there to make the world inside the computer seem more real than the real world. And they achieve that very well.
So now it's time for a round of questions from our fans. So to start things off, we go to James from Nashville. James from Nashville writes, according to Hollywood Treasure Comic-Con Quest, Cindy Morgan, who played Dr. Laura Baines in Tron, traded her Yori costume in for a Lexus. If you were given a similar proposition, would you ever trade in your costume in exchange for something? And if so, what?
That's a good question. I honestly have no earthly idea what this costume is worth. Um, and as it happens, I know Cindy, and I have I have seen the Lexus that she got for it. It wasn't the Tron costume that she traded for it, by the way, but it was some costume pieces she had left over from Caddyshack. But she's a very nice lady, and I really think that she should have been included in the new movie as well. But as for me, at this point, I mean, yeah, everybody has his price, and it would be possible to obtain this costume from me, but I'm not sure that the amount of money that that would require would be worth it to anybody except a hardcore collector.
Question number 2 comes from Clay in Gainesville, Florida. Clay writes, your Wired.com review says you were a little upset about not being featured in a cameo role in Tron Legacy. Do you think that after your review that they might be able to feature you in a potential sequel? Or will you at least try to campaign for a cameo role in the sequel?
I don't know. I have never heard a single word out of Disney. Not one. And I would dearly love to have been involved in Tron Legacy in some capacity. If they do make a third film in the franchise, I'd dearly love to be involved with that in some way. As for campaigning, I'm a little uneasy about that simply because I think that for that to succeed, it would have to come from the public pushing on Disney rather than me going out and banging the drum.
Question number 3 comes from Kristen in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Kristen asks, when you're not fighting for the users, what does Tron Guy do for a living?
By trade, I'm a computer consultant. Big surprise, huh? Unfortunately, I've been unemployed for the last 18 months or so. The company that I was working for, its business pretty much collapsed, and there wasn't any work coming in starting the first week of November 2008. It struggled along until May 2009 and finally folded, and that left me high and dry. And they owed me a substantial sum of money when they folded. So right now I'm just kind of hanging on by my toenails.
Question number 4 comes from Cliff in Moorhead, Kentucky. Cliff writes, do you have any plans on creating a Tron Legacy costume? Now, I realize you've already touched on that, but do you mind to elaborate so Cliff can get some more information?
Well, at this point, there are a few possibilities. It is possible that I may wind up with somebody else making it for me, although that's very much up in the air. And if that doesn't happen, I do intend to do it myself. What I will aim for is a costume like the ones that Sam and the user programs wore in the movie. I do fight for the users. I can't imagine myself being on a Clue's side at all.
And our 5th and final question comes from Ryan in Cincinnati, Ohio. Ryan writes, what did you think of your parodied appearance on South Park?
I really wish they'd called me to do that. I didn't know that was going to happen until literally my roommate, who normally sits behind me, he was talking to a friend on Second Life, and she told him, okay, you got to turn on Comedy Central now. And so we turned around and turned on Comedy Central. We still had cable at the time. And I saw about the second half of that segment. And we just sat there with our jaws open. But, and then saw the whole thing later. I thought it was pretty funny. And I'm not a fan of South Park. To me, that series is a lot more of just an excuse to see how many cuss words they can stick in an 8-year-old's mouth than anything else. But that segment worked pretty well. The one real problem that I have with it is that they impersonated my voice and got it wrong. I mean, if you listening to my voice now, you would not say that I am a native of Minnesota. Yet that's exactly how they made me sound like in the segment.
Jay, it's been a pleasure, and good luck in your battle against the programs.
Have a good day.
End of line.